Hello, everybody. Merry Christmas to you. This is Wave 3 meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to this very quick edition here of Snow Talk on Christmas Eve. And this is just a Christmas gift, really, to those that are the big snow fans, which are a lot of you out there. You know that I am one as well. So I just want to talk a little bit about a system down the road. Don't like to talk about the long term too much. And I'll show you why here in a second. It's just because there's too many ifs, and I don't want to get in too far of speculation. But a lot of you have been asking, when is there anything showing up that looks promising other than flurries and snow showers? You guys are getting tired of flurries and snow showers. I understand. Let me break it down. Let me start you off here with the temperature idea of things. First off, it's cold here, but it's not as cold as it is up in Canada and to Alaska. Temperatures there 20 to 25 below zero, even as you head toward CarMax. That's just how you say it, not the car dealership, a different way of saying CarMax. 35 below zero in that area. Rule of thumb is usually if Alaska begins to warm, then the United States will begin to cool down. And we have not seen Alaska warm yet, but signs are there that it should warm up in the coming days, and that should force the cold air to dive more to the south as we head into the month of January. Let me explain first off what we have outside now. We've got a few clouds moving in from the north and northwest. It's a little, I don't want to say clipper system, it's more of a low pressure because it doesn't really fit the definition of a clipper, but it's an area of low pressure that's going to be moving across the Great Lakes. If we get any snow flurries out of this at all, it's going to come from right here. See this gap between Omaha down into areas of northern Kansas? If that fills in with a small little band of moisture, that will arrive here around, say, 12 noon tomorrow, and then it'll move on out. And it mainly, it's struggling. You can see it should have already had some kind of a connection to it, and it's really just not there yet because there's just too much dry air in this zone for it to connect. But that's the only way you'll see snowflakes fly in our northern counties. We'll watch the radar trends overnight and early tomorrow, but that is what we're going to be watching for. Not this. This is not going to be an issue for us. It'll go way to our north. Let me show you the setup, though, as we head into the month of January. And it's an important setup to talk about. We're going to have an area of low pressure that's going to set up shop across areas of eastern Canada. Around that low pressure is going to be a constant flow of energy. One low pressure after another one's going to ride that little jet all the way around into a complete circle. And each little spoke is going to have to be tracked because at the same time these little spokes of energy are wrapping around the main polar low, you've got the subtropical jet that is also feeding into the southern tier of the United States. Every once in a while, we see one of these pieces of energy moving down out of Canada. At the same time, there's energy moving out of the Pacific along the subtropical. And if they can keep the same path together, the question then becomes, will they phase and touch and to develop into one big storm that then rides up the eastern side of this low pressure and becomes a big nor'easter and snowstorm, and in some cases, snow for us. And it turns out that as we get into the second week of January, that is what we're kind of facing, is that potential for the timing to be right for one of these spokes to come down the time with some energy out of the southwest. But the timing's going to be right. If not, it's not a big ordeal. Here we go with the GFS, and this is an important date I pointed out. This is New Year's Eve day at 1 in the afternoon. And if you look carefully, it's hard to tell, but there's pieces of energy right now riding the spoke coming down from the north. And here's our low pressure moving in across areas of the Baja Peninsula. And the model, I will say, is it tries to phase them, but not until they get over into this area. It very much keeps them as separate streams until they get east of Kentucky, which gives us some snowfall, but nothing really major. It becomes a full-blown nor'easter, though, for New England, certainly, if they phase together. The past couple of days, the model has been trying to phase it a little more into Tennessee, which would develop into a major winter storm for us and then go up the East Coast. But today, the trend on the GFS is to delay it a little bit. Now, when I switch to the Euro, now notice where this is. Again, this is over northern Mexico. Here's California right here. So southern California, western areas of Mexico, and here's the energy in the Great Lakes. Now, remember where these are, because I'm going to take you now to the European model at the same exact time frame. Now, the European model doesn't exactly show the different pieces of energy coming through, but there is one that is moving through at that time in the same spot, but it has the area of low pressure further west. In fact, it's still the Pacific Ocean yet. It hasn't even crossed over the Baja Peninsula at this point. So the European, it always has a tendency to do that. It always is slow with these pieces of energy and bring them out. And it's kind of a little bit of a bias here in the model. You got to keep that in mind. But at this point, neither model are showing a very strong signal of a phasing going on. Now, here's the thing that's going to be interesting to see. The PNA, I've been watching this all season long. When you get it to go to positive above the dashed line, that's when we start to get the better chance for a decent East Coast storm to develop. It's been mostly negative throughout November and throughout most of December, in fact. It's been either neutral or negative. So this is the first time this season it's forecast, anyway, by the 1st of January to go into positive territory, which would be interesting to see what happens when that takes place. So, could it be a big storm? We don't know yet. It's just too early to speculate. Right now, the pieces are not lining up. I think the European is still off on how it's handling the southwest low moving out of the Baja Peninsula, and I think the GFS is still struggling on the timing of the energy wrapping around that low with the subjet at the same time. So they both really are just not right yet. They're not getting the pattern just yet, but the pattern is ripe for there to be a pairing that take place, and the models see it and they take it away, and they see it and they take it away, and we're going to see that trend for at least the next 3-4 days before they finally can lock in on what is going to happen. If they are separate, the northern feature is strong enough to give us some light snow around the first week of January. I'm talking about maybe a couple of inches, an advisory type of an event. If it is the southern branch that wins out, it more than likely will miss us all together and stay locked in across the deep south, and we're cold and dry. So that's how I'm looking at it right now. Too early, but those of you have been asking, want to know, that's what I'm looking at today. I've been wearing my bots tie, though, hoping for a miracle tonight. I did ask Santa for snow. We'll see if he grants my wish. Merry Christmas.